Okay, good evening, everybody. Before we start our regular Ottumwa City Council meeting, we're going to have an Ottumwa Board of Health meeting. So I'm going to call that meeting to order and ask Chris to take the roll.
You don't want to do the
We'll just wait till the...
Okay. Councilmember Basu?
Here.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Here.
Councilmember Cavanis?
Here.
Councilmember Galloway?
Here.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Here.
Mayor Johnson?
Here.
Approve the minutes from meeting number 1 on March 5th, 2024 as presented. Recommendation, approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanis?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set to consider condemnation of the structures on the property located at 538 Summit in the city of Ottumwa, Wapello County, Iowa.
I'm going to go ahead and open the condemnation hearing, and I believe Zach is going to present on this.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The property at 538 Summit was placarded December 29th, 2022. We were called out to the property by the police department, and the water meter was broken, and there was a lot of water spreading throughout the basement. And because it was December, there was a lot of ice all throughout the basement as well. There were poor living conditions and some serious concerns about the building at that time. There's been no work done to repair the building. There was a permission granted for a while, but there was no repair plan or any work done to complete that repair plan, and there's no current repair plan or current permission. Condemnation notice was served by publication and also by certified mail.
Does council have any questions for Zach regarding this property?
Has there been any comment from the owners?
So we did have, not the owner herself, who is Judith Welch, but we did have some folks come into the office today for the first time, and they asked to pull a building permit, and we told them about the meeting tonight. It's our opinion that the building's been left for 18 months since the condemnation, or since the placard was placed on it, that it's in bad condition and that it needs to be demolished.
Thank you.
When did the first repair plan expire?
Let me pull this up here. I don't believe we've ever received a repair plan. We had permission that expired March 10th of 2023, and that was the last that I can see that we had any permission on the property.
Perfect, thank you.
Zach, what was their response to you today when you told them about the meeting tonight?
We expected that they were going to be here today.
Does council have any other questions for Zach? Since this is a condemnation hearing, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak briefly regarding this particular property? If not, I would entertain a motion to close the condemnation hearing.
Motion. I'll move. Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanis?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Condemn the structures located at 538 Summit, order prompt demolition, removal, and leveling of the lot, and direct all costs attendant to such actions, including administrative cost, to be assessed against the property and or collected from the owner or owners thereof. Recommendation, approve the condemnation of the structures located at 538 Summit.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanis?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set to consider condemnation of the structures of the property located at 932 West 3rd Street in the city of Ottumwa, Wapello County, Iowa.
I'll go ahead and open the condemnation hearing, and Zach is also going to present on this property.
Thank you, Mayor. Before I do that, I meant to start on the last one with kind of an explanation of why we have 5 of these all at once and why we haven't had any for a while. So we were waiting to do the transition with the finance director and understand where we are in the finances that are available for this program. And then we were able to decide how many we were going to be able to do with about how much money is left. And so that's why it took us a while to get to where we served these notices. We did serve these notices about 45 days ago, and we're able to start getting this process moving again. The expectation is that with the new funding that's in the round of bonding, that after July 1, we'll have additional funding for the program, and you'll be seeing more of the condemnations come more regularly. And so that's the reason why there's been a little bit of a break in seeing these, and then why you saw several come all at once. The property, however, at 932 West 3rd Street's been placarded since June 17th, 2022, and it was placarded because it appeared abandoned and had serious dilapidation and dereliction and issues with broken windows and things like that. The property's had to be mowed by the city on multiple occasions, and there's been no attempt to seek permission or make any repair on the property. There's been no one's appeared for inspections. We've had several missed inspections, and the condemnation notice was served the same as the others by publication and by sending certified mail.
Does council have any questions for Zach regarding this property? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak regarding this particular property? If not, I'd entertain a motion to close the condemnation hearing.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Condemn the structures located at 932 West 3rd, order prompt demolition, removal, and leveling of the lot, and direct all costs attendant to such actions, including administrative costs, to be assessed against the property and/or collected from the owner or owners thereof. Recommendation: approve the condemnation of the structures located at 932 West 3rd Street.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
Motion to approve. Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set to consider condemnation of the structures on the property located at 606 Spring Street in the city of Ottumwa, Wapello County, Iowa.
I'll go ahead and open the condemnation hearing, and Zach's also going to present on this property.
Thank you, Mayor. The structure at 606 Spring Street was placarded August 17th, 2023. It was placarded for poor living conditions, lack of utilities, and safety concerns. There were people living in campers on the property as well, and we had to do an extensive cleanup on this property, not as much as the next one, but we did have a lot of items and debris around that had to be cleaned up. There's also been no progress toward repair on this property, and we've had missed appointments for scheduling inspections, and there's no repair plan or current permission.
Council have any questions for Zach regarding this particular property?
Are they still living on the property in campers?
No, there's not anybody there now.
Anyone in the audience like to speak on this particular property? Okay, if not, I'd entertain a motion to close the condemnation hearing.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Condemn the structures located at 606 Spring Street, order prompt demolition, removal, and leveling of the lot, and direct all costs attendant to such actions, including administrative costs, to be assessed against the property and/or collected from the owner or owners thereof. Recommendation: approve the condemnation of the structures located at 606 Spring Street.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set to consider condemnation of the structures on the property located at 2721 Branham in the city of Ottumwa, Wapello County, Iowa.
I'll open the condemnation hearing, and Zach is also going to present on this property.
Thank you, Mayor. On this one, we'll talk a little bit about some cleanup expenses that we've had to have, and you'll want to keep those in mind when we talk about the budget on cleanup expenses later on in the regular meeting agenda. But the structure at 2721 Branham was placarded September of 2023, September 19th. It was placarded due to poor living conditions, lack of utilities, and general repair for the property. We had to do an extensive cleanup at that time. There were 5 occupied RVs on the property where people were living in RVs. There were also 10 junk vehicles that had to be towed, and we did collect 43,000 pounds of trash during a cleanup there. And I had to double check that number today because that was a really large number, but we had to have a cleanup for 43,000 pounds, which is probably one of our largest. The property continues to be a strain on the staff. We've had to do cleanups again since then, and it looks again pretty rough right now. There's also been a fire at the property. It was on a tree since this case has begun as well. There's been no real movement toward repair. The only thing that's really happened was somebody tried to excavate and dig out part of the basement without doing any work to safely hold up the rest of the property, and that was a concern we had. There was no permission there, and that was really not the right direction at all. We've had to respond to police and fire calls there as well. There's no current repair plan or current permission on this property.
Does council have any questions for Zach regarding this particular property?
Any response from the owners?
They also did indicate that at least somebody wanted to be here tonight to speak on this one, but I don't see the folks that we expected to see. They've at times requested permission to try to resolve the issue, but other members of the family have kind of understood that the cost of the cleanup itself exceeds their ability to pay it, let alone the work that needs done on the property.
Thank you.
My same question, they still live in campers or RVs?
I don't believe anybody's living there now. There is some trash and stuff in the area. Nobody's living there now that we're aware of. Yeah.
Hey, Councilperson Hoffman, can you speak in your microphone? It's hard to hear you down there.
Any other questions for Zach from council? If not, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak regarding this particular property? If not, I'd entertain a motion to close the condemnation hearing.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
Councilmember Basu,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Yes.
Condemn the structures located at 2721 Branham, order prompt demolition, removal, and leveling of the lot, and direct all costs attendant to such actions, including administrative costs, to be assessed against the property and/or collected from the owner or owners thereof. Recommendation: approve the condemnation of the structures located at 2721 Branham.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Basu,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set to consider condemnation of the structures of the property located at 506 Clinton in the city of Ottumwa, Wapello County, Iowa.
I'll go ahead and open the condemnation hearing, and Zach is going to present on this property as well.
Thank you, Mayor. The structure at 506 Clinton was placarded August 9th, 2022. However, the department's had other interactions with this property in different files and different concerns since 2015. It was placarded due to poor living conditions, lack of utilities, and dilapidation. There's been 18 police calls since this document was written, and there's actually been more in the week since we had to put the staff summary together, and 15 arrests at that time, and then more again this week for occupying a placarded dwelling. There's not been any serious progress toward repair, and what work has been done, staff noted, was in poor craftsmanship, poor workmanship. Code enforcement's had multiple calls from neighbors throughout the duration of this file, and there's serious concerns about folks overstaying permission, living in the property, even as it's placarded and in its poor condition. There's no repair plan or current permission for the property.
Does council have any questions for Zach regarding this particular property?
I know that this particular homeowner has participated in other like revitalization things in the community. Has he reached out to you? Thanks, Keith. Has he reached out to you?
I don't know about other things they've participated in, but we have been in contact with the homeowner during the file. Yeah, we've had inspections and been in contact.
Any other questions from council for Zach?
Just confirming, so there was a fire at this location a week ago? Am I saying that?
Yes. There would have been a fire 3 weeks ago, I think.
3 weeks ago, okay.
Any other questions from council? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to make any comments regarding this particular property?
Yes, it's actually my house, I own it.
Do you want to come up to the microphone and give your name and address, please?
Yes, my name is Isaiah Hutchinson, and I'm the owner of the property 506 Clinton Avenue. It is my house, and I do plan on living in it. The contact has been kind of so-and-so, because I had moved out of town for a while, down to Texas, and I've been dealing with a lot of things, but I'm back in town now. I have been doing work. However, our contact with these guys are busy most of their days, doing inspections and whatnot, and so it's kind of hard for me to get in touch with them. However, I came here with this paper that I got about a month ago. I have not put in a repair plan yet. I do need to submit one, but to make things short, I just ask for a little bit more time to bring the house up to their likings. If there's any way we can reason about this.
Is there any reason why you haven't tried to do something in a year and a half? Because this has been going on for over a year and a half. This isn't something that's just recently been notified to you to take care of. I know that the placard had been on the house. However, it didn't go into my name until recently. So I don't have a copy of exactly what's deficient on the house. I just know that I have been putting in work to address these things. I mean, you could drive past it right now, and it's not really too bad of a looking house. I'm just here to ask for an extension of time, please. So you haven't seen the deficiency list for 506 Clinton that was dated August 3rd, 2022?
No, sir, I have not.
When did you just say you just purchased it?
Just recently.
And was that from Scott Ellis?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he inform you of these things that had been going on with the house previously?
I don't have a copy of anything on it. This is the paperwork that I got. It was on the house itself. Excuse me.
Did you receive the condemnation notice by certified mail?
I don't believe this is all I have on the house right here.
When did you buy it? What was the date you bought it?
I believe it went to my house like the end of last year, I believe. I want to say
December?
just recently.
The condemnation letter is dated April 4th of 2024.
This right here, I believe it's.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. So that condemnation letter told you what the city was going to do, and if you wanted to contest that, you were supposed to put something in writing, which you did not do.
I wasn't aware of.
That's in the letter. It's in the letter.
I guess I don't know, the communication's just not, I don't understand like those things. I'm just here because it set a date and a time to talk to somebody.
Zach, do you have anything you can shed some light on this?
If you don't mind. And you'll have a chance if you want to say some more. So the property changed possession in October, which was after the date that the placard was put there. But Mr. Hutchison has stood inspections with our inspectors, and this process has been explained. He's also been personally, along with other people, arrested at the property multiple times for not having permission, and has been explained that he needs to obtain or submit a repair plan to obtain permission, but he's still gone back to the property in violation of that ordinance. We also served the notice by certified mail to the address of record. We've satisfied the requirement there as well. Our belief is that the progress that's been made is very little and is really not material or of suitable quality to continue down. The property's in poor condition and has been a significant issue for the neighborhood, and that we do believe the condemnation should proceed.
Zach, Zach, did you say the arrests were for occupation without permission?
Right, occupying a placard dwelling. And then I think there was one also related to an animal occupying the placarded property as well.
Do you have anything else you'd like to say?
I do disagree with the progress on the house. It is livable. There are things that are being corrected on the house. I've put forth a lot of cash and effort and time since I've returned to town on this house. I just ask that my house not be torn down. I mean, I deserve a place to live.
Well, if these pictures that we're seeing are fairly current, it doesn't look like there's been much progress made.
Those aren't. I don't think those are current. I don't
How
believe
old
so.
are these pictures that were in the packet? Are they fairly current?
They're dated on the bottom of 22.
Yeah, these would be the photos. I think most of the photos in the packet are the photos from when it was placarded. There hasn't been, as I said, any permission or repair plan to make any progress. We don't have any reason to have seen any progress. The inspections that we've seen where any progress was made, it was inadequate. I can have one of the inspectors speak to the quality of the work, as they were the ones that did the inspection, but it's not been
There's
adequate.
some from 4/17/24.
Okay, and then there's also the more recent ones.
Yes.
And the owner says the property is livable?
Yeah, yes,
There
yes,
has to be
sir.
water and electricity and
Yes, there,
sewer
yeah.
and all that.
Yes, sir. The one of the things Jeremy and I had talked about was leveling out the floors. My neighbor next door has been draining the water from her basement over to my property, flooding my yard out, which in turn of that, you can't, it's kind of hard to level out a house structurally when the ground's soft. So I mean, that's kind of one of the issues, but I mean, the house really, it's livable. It doesn't look like the pictures that I've seen so far. I mean, I mean, if I could have just a little bit more time to meet these requirements or needs, I mean, I could save, I mean, I'd like to have a home, but I'd like to also save you guys money.
Okay, I'm going to go back and ask you this one more time. It's pretty clear in this condemnation letter that you were supposed to, if you wanted to contest the condemnation tonight, you were supposed to do a written statement and turn it in with the city clerk 5 days from the date of the notice, which was April 4th. And you did not do that, and it's pretty plain in there what you're supposed to do. And you didn't do it. So, do you have anything else you want to say before we close the condemnation hearing?
I just, am I able to have a little bit more time for my home, please? I have a daughter on the way. I've put forth the cash and everything to meet these requirements that I need. I mean, I can understand if you're upset, but I've really just come here to plead and ask that you guys deal with me fairly.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate your comments.
One more question, Your Honor.
Yes.
Do you have a plan with you tonight showing what your intentions would be if you are allowed more time? Do you have a plan
Yes, sir, I do.
in writing?
In writing, no. I've taken that up with Jeremy. I could write one up really quick if I need to, but I do have a working knowledge I've talked about it with Jeremy. I've been down to City Hall, down at the train station, I mean, a handful of times to get in contact with them. I've even given him my number. I left my number with them today. I just haven't heard back from them. I can't spend this is a lot for me here, but I can write one up right now, and I'm willing to meet whatever requirements need to be met for me to keep my house. I do have a kid on the way.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, if I can really quick, Isaiah, can you give us, sorry, I need to just move it. Can you just clarify some timeline things for me really quick? So you said you moved here from Houston.
No, I was in Fort Worth.
Fort Worth, and when did you move to Ottumwa?
Well, my dad passed away in November. And I got here before my birthday, early this year or so. Maybe probably sometime early this year. I couldn't quite tell you.
January, February?
Probably the December, January time.
Okay. And when did you take possession of this house from Scott Ellis?
When I came here to town was when I coming to town.
Okay. And so and correct me if I'm wrong, the first time that I see that the police had an altercation with you was February 11th of 2024. At this time, were you aware of the problems with your house that need to be fixed?
I know that I needed to bring the house up, I believe, but originally there was no porch on it, no porch floor. That was the only thing I was aware of from Scott was about the porch floor, but that's been there, that's put in place right now.
The main reason I'm just asking is because there have been several times when the police have approached you about being on this property. So there has to have been some kind of communication during those altercations. What was the communication that you were receiving?
from the police officers themselves?
Yes, because we have a February, and then again we have something in March, and then again in March, and then again at the end of March.
I do believe a lot of it was verbal. There's not really, I mean, it's verbal. They don't really know or understand what's going on. They just tell me to get in touch with the city. And so I guess I met with Jeremy and Zach. I couldn't tell you exactly when it was, but it was to get permission for the house. But I went back the following Monday to get more permission, and after that I went even more times, but I still was not able to make contact with them. I've called, I've been into the office, I've just been dealing with a lot.
But the reason those four calls were made by the Ottumwa police is because you were trying to live in a placarded dwelling, and you couldn't live there in a placarded dwelling, and the city hasn't removed the placard, and you continue to try and live there. That's part of the issue. That's why the police were called.
I have no clue why the police were called.
That's why they were called, because you were living in a placarded building, which you weren't supposed to be staying in.
I went to jail, I believe, the other day, and Officer Shaw had just walked up, and I was working on my back porch. There's work that's actively been being done. I don't see there be any reason why I don't have an extension of time. I don't.
Why haven't you asked, so in that letter, I think it also identifies you have to ask for permission, and I think you've been told you have to ask for permission. So why haven't you asked for permission to be there?
I have asked for permission. Like I said, I've been to the city office to try and renew the permission, and I haven't made. They're out on inspections, and I've left my number with the lady that's at the desk. I've left the contact information and made attempts to renew that permission. I can't get in touch with these guys.
I can clarify some of that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hutchinson. Appreciate your comments.
So first of all, permission to receive any extended amount of permission requires submitting the repair plan. And Jeremy's been on inspections with Mr. Hutchison, explained that he needs to submit a repair plan, and to this date, there has been no repair plan submitted for the property. In the last week, he has made visits to the office to attempt to get permission again without submitting a repair plan. And even in that situation, with the condemnation notice already sent and the condemnation happening, we would have only given permission in order to get personal items. We would have asked him to hold off until the condemnation hearing to do anything further. But we haven't had, like I said, any repair plans submitted in any of the period where the property was placarded. I also do want to add clarity. The property did change legal ownership, whether or not he was in town taking possession, in October. And there's responsibility there. There's obviously, when you've been arrested more than once at the property for occupying the placarded dwelling, I would think that there's an expectation to try to do something to remedy that fact, but instead we have not received the written permission or the written repair plan or any request to get permission that way. It's been frustrating. I also will say again that any work that's been done in the last few weeks, we don't have photos of it because that's been since we were there, but it would have been done without permission, and that's the reason why he even would have been arrested at the time he was doing that work. It doesn't give confidence that there's, first of all, we don't think the property is in a position to be rehabilitated, but even if it were, we don't have confidence when he has not submitted the permission or submitted the repair plan, he's not described the repair plan, and he's continually violated the ordinance on occupying a placarded dwelling.
Does council have any other final questions for Zach regarding this property?
My comment, not to Zach, but to the gentleman here representing, it's not our responsibility to contact you. It is your responsibility to build a plan for repair and to bring it to City Hall. If the police have been on your property, it is because you were breaking the law. So if you didn't get that message, you didn't get hardly anything.
If I just wrote up one repair plan and have that,
No, we don't. We can't do that now.
are you guys trying to take my house from me?
They're gonna be voting on it here in just a minute.
Okay, because I do have a daughter on the way. I do have things going on to look forward to, and I am a part of this community. I just ask that you guys please do it fairly.
Zach, do you have anything else?
Cyan
Can I
has
just say
something.
The problem is not that we're trying to take this house from you. The problem is that it's unsafe for you to live there. And if you are bringing a child on the way, like you have a child on the way, this home is not a safe home to bring that child into. That's the issue that we're trying to discuss through right now.
And I'm sorry, I just want to make one more comment too. You've made the comment that to do this fairly, and we have a department that has reached out multiple times. I think I heard Jeremy has walked through with you the house and what needs to be done. So I want to just kind of push back and say, I guess I don't understand what you mean by fairly, because we are following the code or the procedure that the city has set up for our department to follow. And that's why we're having this hearing today.
I guess it was just, when talking with them, it just seemed that they were unclear with the process themselves, kind of. I'm not trying to say anything bad, but I just kind of feel they don't kind of understand what this legal or whatever process of it was.
They clearly understand the process.
It just seemed unclear when communicated to me.
Maybe you didn't understand it, but they clearly understand the process, and I don't know how this condemnation letter could be any clearer to anybody. And you did not follow the condemnation letter that you got through certified mail.
I know that
So
the house does have
we're
the
done
potential.
with the comments.
Yes, sir.
So
It
if-
does have potential to be brought up, and I would just like to say that I could do that in less than 6 months.
If there's no other questions, Zach, do you have anything else you want to say before we go to a vote?
I do just want to clarify something about the process. It's maybe nitpicking, but I do want everyone to understand the condemnation would not be taking the property. It would be ordering the demolition. The city would undertake the demolition, and we would assess the cost of the property tax. But Mr. Hutchison would still own the property. Obviously, he would have to pay an assessment or pay the cost of the demolition in order to try to rebuild anything on the property or anything like that. But we are not taking ownership of the property that is his. I do just want to clarify that. Obviously, it's still very difficult for somebody to be in his situation to have the property demolished, but I did want to clarify there is a difference there.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no other questions from council, I'd entertain a motion to close the condemnation hearing.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanis?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Condemn the structures located at 506 Clinton, order prompt demolition, removal, and leveling of the lot, and direct all costs attendant to such actions, including administrative costs, to be assessed against the property and/or collected from the owner or owners thereof. Recommendation: approve the condemnation of the structures located at 506 Clinton.
You need to sit down.
I can't leave.
You're actually, well, you're not done yet. This is the vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
And then we do want to
Move the recommendation.
Is there a second to the recommendation?
Second.
Yes, I did. You guys need me to read it again?
No, it's okay. I just want to make sure it was read completely.
Who seconded down there?
Doug.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Basu?
No.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanis?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-1.
Okay. That's all the business that we have tonight for the Ottumwa Board of Health meeting, so I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanis?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Okay, we are adjourned from our Board of Health meeting. And it's 6:05, so I'm going to call the Ottumwa City Council meeting to order. And if everybody would rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Chris will go ahead and take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Here.
Councilmember Cavaness.
Here.
Councilmember Basu.
Here.
Councilmember Galloway.
Here.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Here.
Mayor Johnson.
Here. The next item is to approve tonight's consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness.
Yes.
Councilmember Basu.
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway.
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
Okay, before we go on in the agenda, I did want to go back, since it was in the consent agenda, we didn't talk about it. I just want to call attention to May of 2024 being National Historic Preservation Month. And I did do a proclamation for this. And I just wanted to let everybody know that the Ottumwa Historic Preservation Commission is going to observe Historic Preservation Month by hosting its first annual Ottumwa Historic Preservation Awards in Central Park. It'll be tomorrow from 5:30 to 7, May 8th. The public is invited to attend, and I believe they're going to have some music and some food vendors also available. So we encourage everybody to come to Central Park and find out who's getting the first Historic Preservation Award. And this, I think, is going to become an annual event. Zach, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I think that was everything.
Okay, so hopefully if some of you are interested in historic preservation, you'll be willing to come out and participate in the first Historic Preservation Awards ceremony tomorrow in Central Park at 5:30. The next item on the agenda is to approve our agenda for tonight. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness.
Yes.
Councilmember Basu.
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway.
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
Okay, the next item is our city administrator's report to council and citizens. So I'll turn it over to Phil Rath.
All right, thank you, Honorable Mayor. Due to the Board of Health meeting and a little longer agenda today, I'm going to keep my comments to a minimum, and I know you had a mayoral proclamation that you wanted to give, so I will hand this to you and turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. This month is the 55th Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week. And so I would like to read this proclamation that we'd like to give to our city clerk, Christina Reinhard. And it starts out, the office of the professional municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world. And the office of the professional municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants. And the office of the professional municipal clerk provides a professional link between the citizens, the governing bodies, and agencies of government at all levels in the city. Professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and their impartiality, which Chris does very well, rendering equal service to everyone. The professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and our community. Professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the professional municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations, which I know Chris does that also. It's most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the professional municipal clerk. So therefore, I, Richard W. Johnson, Mayor of the City of Ottumwa, Iowa, do recognize the week of May 5th through May 11th, 2024 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend our deep appreciation to our professional municipal clerk, Christina Reinhard, and to all professional municipal clerks for their vital service they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities that they represent, dated the 7th day of May, 2024. So thank you very much.
Didn't
So would
know
you
that
like
was
to
gonna
say
happen.
anything?
I did not know that was going to happen, so you guys were good. It's my honor to serve as your city clerk, and I'm always here for anybody that needs to come to my office for anything, so thank you.
The city clerk, for people that don't really know what the city clerk does, and I don't know everything she does, but I can tell you she stays extremely busy, and she's responsible for all of our agendas, for all of our minutes. She gets everything sent out and posted to the public. She's involved in all kinds of things, and we would be hard pressed if we didn't have as good a city clerk as we have in Christina Reinhardt. So congratulations.
I'll say something real quick. I did see something on ClerkNet, which is kind of our way of communicating with other clerks in the area, and it said, you don't know what a city clerk does until it doesn't get done. That's pretty accurate.
That's true. That's true. Okay, anything else you'd like to?
Not tonight.
Okay, this is the point in our agenda where I ask if anybody'd like to speak on any of our agenda items tonight. If you do want to, you should fill out one of those white slips over there in that basket, and I haven't gotten any, so does anybody in the audience want to speak on any of our agenda items tonight? Okay. We will go ahead. We've got 4 public hearings tonight, so I'll turn it back over to our city clerk and we'll get started with our public hearings.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the amendment to fiscal year 2024 budget.
I'll go ahead and open the public hearing, and I believe our finance director, Mr. Cole O'Donnell, is going to handle this.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. First of all, over in the box over here, if anybody wants a hard copy of the upcoming budget or a hard copy of the recently completed audit, I have copies over there for you. Stop them and get one after the session's done. So amendment number 1 is necessary to formalize the estimated revenue and expenditures in the fiscal year 25 budget. Revenue for fiscal 24 increased by $9,544,167 due to additional transfers in, investment gains, and unbudgeted franchise fees. The increase in income is offset by $17,495,405 increases in expenditures. There is a corresponding increase in transfers and the transfers in and unbudgeted expenses for capital projects. Ending fund balances are reduced by additional $7,951,238, with the vast majority being reserves that are restricted for use for projects.
Does council have any questions for Mr. O'Donnell? Since this is a public hearing, does anybody in the audience have any comments they'd like to make regarding this particular item? If not, I go ahead and entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Resolution number 106, 2024, approve amendment number 1 to fiscal year 2024 city budget. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 106, 2024.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the matter of the adoption of amendment number 1 to the amended and restated Ottumwa Urban Revitalization Plan for the Ottumwa Urban Revitalization Area.
I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing and turn it over to Zach.
Thank you, Mayor. We discussed a little bit at the last meeting where we set the public hearing for this, but this amendment to the Urban Revitalization Plan is a reaction to some new legislation that the legislature passed last year. The Urban Revitalization Plan describes a schedule for tax abatement that is citywide. Ottumwa has a finding of some degree of blight or some degree of need for revitalization for the entire city, and so we do have a schedule that allows for anyone who makes improvements valued more than 10% to their home or more than, I believe, 5% to a commercial business to apply for tax abatement. For single family and duplex residential, that's up to 3 years, that is 3 years, 100% abatement on the new value. And then for multifamily and commercial, there's a sliding scale, 10 years for multifamily and 5 years for commercial. The changes that are going to be made by this, The first is that the new legislation prevents cities from abating the taxes that are paid to the school district. And so we've had to remove those taxes from what's going to be abated. That will decrease the value of the tax abatement for the taxpayer. They will still have to pay the full amount of taxes on the new value for the school levies. They just will be abated at the city and county levies and then the community college. The second change, and we're going to see a little bit with our attorneys over time how this is going to play out, is that we're required to do a minimum assessment agreement with anybody who's applying for commercial property tax abatement. And we don't have a whole lot of applications for this already, and we do think this is going to be a pretty significant deterrent. We're also going to try to understand how easy we can make that minimum assessment agreement and not add any additional cost, or at least minimize any additional cost. We don't want to have to prepare a full development agreement with an attorney that's going to cost hundreds of dollars for each of these applications, because then the value that gets back is we're going to either have to charge the applicant for that, which will reduce the value, or we're going to take on a significant cost as the city to offer the program. So we're going to be working on the new application with the attorneys and understanding how that minimum assessment agreement's going to work process-wise, but basically it means that the commercial property owner will enter into an agreement that the assessor has said is viable, that says after the improvements are done, the property will be assessed at least this amount for taxes. And I think that's really in order to allow entities to predict better what's happening with the abatements and what's that schedule and when those taxes are going to be paid.
Does council have any questions for Zach?
I'm glad you have to do the paperwork.
Yeah. You'll get your share once a year when you do the revitalization
Thank
resolution.
you so much.
Does anyone in the audience have any questions regarding this particular topic? Okay, if not, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanis?
Yes.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Resolution number 112, 2024, adopting the proposed amendment number 1 to the amended and restated Ottumwa Urban Revitalization Plan for the Ottumwa Urban Revitalization Area. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 112, 2024.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanis?
Yes.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the proposal to convey certain real property locally known as 119 West 5th Street, Ottumwa, Iowa, to John and Noma Woodenberg.
I'll go ahead and open the public hearing and turn this over to Zach.
Thank you, Mayor. The city acquired the property at 119 West 5th as part of an action under Iowa Code Section 637A, which allows cities to take title to abandoned property. During the course of that legal action playing out, the previous owner entered into a purchase agreement with John and Noma Woodenberg. We believe that the title that we received through the 637 action was clean because we had served all the necessary parties, but because there was that purchase agreement that happened in the middle, it was a little bit messy, and the Woodenbergs were concerned. They thought that they should have some kind of right to the property because they'd already entered into a purchase agreement as well. And working with the attorneys, we thought the best course of action was to sell the property directly to the Woodenbergs at a reasonable price. And so we settled on a sale price of $15,000. And so rather than putting this property up for sale, instead we would enter into the purchase agreement with the Woodenbergs as kind of a settlement of that title issue. And so John and Noma Woodenberg agreed to that purchase agreement, and they're eager to close on this property and begin to complete a rehabilitation.
And I think you indicated in the staff summary that you feel like they've demonstrated the capacity to do the renovations, that that's not a concern.
Yeah, this wouldn't be the first property they've gotten from us this way. Yeah.
Does council have any questions for Zach? Does anyone in the audience have any questions on this particular property? Okay, if not, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanis?
Yes.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Resolution number 113, 2024, approving and authorizing the conveyance of certain real property locally known as 119 West 5th Street, Ottumwa, Iowa, to John and Noma Woodenberg for $15,000. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 113, 2024.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Okay, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the proposed amendment number 9 to the Westgate Economic Development Urban Renewal Plan.
I'll go ahead and open the public hearing, and we'll turn this over to Zach again.
Thank you, Mayor. This is again a reaction to some new legislation. New legislation from the legislature basically changed the language that cities can use for bonding. General corporate purpose bonds, it used to say in the code that cities were able to use those for what exactly is that? Projects which are beneficial to the health and welfare of citizens. They removed that, and they have only a more narrow list of what those projects can be. We've generally funded the Downtown Development Grant Program using bonding, and so that presented an issue how we would be able to continue to fund that program. The best approach that we found was to use the language which allows us to use general corporate purpose bonding to advance projects which are within an urban revitalization plan. And the entire downtown district is in the Westgate urban revitalization area, and so this plan would add a project to that revitalization plan for these grants. These grants are the building facade program, the roof program, the white box program, the downtown paint program, the restaurant equipment grant program, and the white box program. And then the interest buy down, which is attached to all of those. The city's had some funds from the Legacy Foundation for this program, but has primarily relied on bonding. This amendment would allow us to continue to do those bonds. We did have to hold a recommendation we had to hold a plan and zoning meeting in order to get a recommendation, and that was a unanimous recommendation to adopt the amendment. We also had to schedule a consultation meeting with other taxing entities because this relates to urban revitalization. There is no plan to use TIF to fund these grants at all, but because it's within an urban revitalization plan where we do talk about TIF authority, we have to extend that opportunity to the taxing entities to attend a meeting as well. And there were no attendees at that consultation meeting. Staff recommends to adopt the amendment, and then that would allow us to proceed with the bonding goals related to the downtown programs. They've been really successful programs, had added quite a bit of value downtown by square foot or by acre. Valuations in downtown have increased more than any other part of the community, and that really is in part because of the catalytic effect of these projects.
Does council have any questions for Zach? Since this is a public hearing, I'll ask, does anyone in the audience have any comments they'd like to make on this particular subject? If not, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Resolution number 114, 2024, determining an area of the city to be an economic development and blighted area, and that the rehabilitation, conservation, redevelopment, development, or a combination thereof of such area as necessary in the interest of the public health, safety, or welfare of the residents of the city, designating such area as appropriate for urban renewal projects, and adopting the amendment number 9 to the Westgate Economic Development Urban Renewal Plan. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 114, 2024.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Ordinance number 3221, 2024, an ordinance to reestablish and continue the downtown Ottumwa self-supported municipal improvement district pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 386, Code of Iowa, and providing for the continuation of certain funds and the levy of annual taxes in connection therewith. Recommendation, pass the third consideration and adopt ordinance number 3221, 2024.
Is there a
Move the
motion?
recommendation.
Second.
Okay, Zach.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the third and final consideration of this one, so I won't go through the whole explanation, which you've heard at least 5 times between the public hearings and everything else. But this ordinance will be the last step in continuing to renew the self-supporting municipal improvement district downtown for 7 years. In the first 5 years, they've done quite a few beneficial projects. There's no change to the formula by which that additional tax is levied. It just renews for another 7 years. The recommendations throughout have been positive. It was started by a petition of property owners in the district that it reflected more than 25% of the value and more than 25% of the owners of property in the district.
And I think the good thing about this program is the property owners downtown actually get to determine how those extra dollars are going to be spent.
Right. It's a committee that is guided by the property owners of the district.
Yeah. Does council have any questions for Zach? Okay, if not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanis?
Yes.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Review of proposed capital projects funded through general obligation capital bonds. Recommendation review projects and estimates.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
And it's all yours, Mr. O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mayor. So back in January, I know this was presented to you, the list of proposed projects to be funded through the bonding. What we need to do is we need to formalize this so that we can continue the process of issuing the bonds. Within that list, nothing has changed that I know of except for the new financial software. Our bids came in significantly less, and so it is reflected in there of the actual cost that would come out of the bonding. That did reduce the overall bonding amount by about $120,000. Otherwise, we do have the capacity to bond for everything that's on there. When I calculated it last week, I think it's somewhere around 54% with this bond. We're doing very well. I always try to keep if possible, the bonding capacity used up no more than 75% used. This is way below that. It'll still allow us some flexibility in the future, and if we manage the debt correctly, we can keep it around that 50 to 55%.
Does council have any questions for Cole?
I would just like to make a comment. I appreciate your efforts ever since you came here, and you're easy to talk with. You break it down to where an average person like me understands it, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
He was a good hire. Any other questions from council for Mr. O'Donnell? Okay, if not, Chris will go ahead and take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanis?
Yes.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
So for all the department heads that are here, all your projects just got approved, so that's good.
Clean up unauthorized campsites on Turkey Island. Recommendation, authorize the Building and Code Enforcement Department to use the contracted cleanup crew from J&J Mowing to complete a nuisance abatement cleanup at Turkey Island.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Zach?
All right, thank you. I've got some slides on this one. Does the remote control them, or do I need to ask you to? Okay. I'll just yell slide like my professors used to. So around April 17th, the Building and Code Enforcement Department received a complaint from the Ottumwa Police Department about unauthorized campsites on Turkey Island. If you can go to the next slide there. I think everybody on the council probably knows, but that's Turkey Island. It's entirely owned by the city, except for the portion of railroad right-of-way that runs right through the island, bisecting it. It's our property, and it has no connection to utilities, no connection to public street, anything like that. It's completely undeveloped at this time. If you go to the next slide, the only way of accessing the island other than by boat is by use of the 2 railroad bridges, which is trespass, first of all, but is also not a safe means of getting there. Obviously, a train can come kind of at any moment, which would make it pretty dangerous to be on those bridges. The staff did go out and investigate the complaint and discovered that there are multiple folks living in different campsites on the island. Features of those camps include tents and tarp shelters. There's also quite a bit of rubbish, debris, personal items all around. There's some of those photos if you just want to kind of go through them. A lot of bicycles, a lot of items kind of just spread throughout.
How long do you think that's been getting collected? Because when I saw those slides in the packet, I couldn't believe how much garbage there was there. This has been more than just a couple months, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's probably been quite a while, but we have done cleanups. We did a cleanup there last year, correct? Yeah, in this part of the island, we did do a cleanup last year. So it has accumulated over a shorter period of time, but it is several months. It's not safe for anybody to be there. There's no connection to, like I said, no connection to utilities for sanitary living, but also no safe means of access there. Obviously, there's concerns different times of the year about fire, but also right now there's concerns about high water. If there were a medical emergency, if there were violence, if there were a weather-related emergency, it would be really hard to get anybody safely off of that island. We've all seen what's happened with boat rescues in the last couple of weeks, for example. And so the staff does believe that we need to get folks out of that condition, and so we are going to begin planning on carrying out an eviction there. Kind of regardless of what we discussed tonight, it is going to be our recommendation to still do an eviction there. We're going to try to be as respectful of people as we possibly can. I work today with the Rolling Hills Coalition. They do have a caseworker that they want to have come out with us that'll be equipped to connect people with homelessness related services and any other services that they might need from a social worker. And we are going to try to, in the next week or so, go out and get folks out of there. The city can't be responsible for having people continue to camp on our property like that. What we are kind of asking the council for is what we should do after the eviction. The estimated cost that we've received so far is between $5,500, but probably more, closer to $10,000 for the cleanup. Nuisance abatement cleanups have really skyrocketed, especially in the last year. Our budget was $40,000 for cleanups. We're already at $73,000 this year. Part of that was that cleanup on Branham, which is one of the largest ones we've undertaken. But we've had a lot of issues with these types of camps as well. By Union Street, we've had them. We've had them kind of north by the highway, north of Alta Vista. There's been a lot of these types of activities, and so we're already exceeding budget, and we're expected, if we were to do the cleanup, to exceed the budget even further. There's kind of 3 directions we can go. Obviously, as I said before, there is the option to do no eviction, to do no cleanup, but I don't think we can take the responsibility of folks staying in an unsafe condition. The second would be to do the eviction without the cleanup. It wouldn't cost anything it wouldn't cost very much if we were to leave the material there. It's not plainly visible from public rights of way or anything like that. Our largest concern is, first of all, that we will be responsible for cleaning it up someday. It's our property. But we also are concerned that folks will return quicker. Realistically, folks will probably continue to return until we can find a more durable solution to folks living in that kind of situation. But, removing the items will hopefully make it so that folks don't return as quickly. And so that would be the third option, is to do the eviction and then also carry out the cleanup. We have a contract with J&J Mowing to do our nuisance abatement cleanups, and their initial walkthrough, they did say about $5,500 to do the cleanup, but we expect that number to go up. This is, they've seen some of the campsite there, but even the folks that our staff has talked to that were on the island have said that they're not the only ones staying there, and we expect that it could, as we go out with the eviction, we could continue to find more things that need cleaned up than what our contractor's seen. So we expect that number to go up to $7,500 or $10,000. So, like I said, it's our hope that we can be, as delicate as possible doing an eviction, but we do want to inform the council where we are and then kind of make the recommendation that we do proceed with the cleanup, and we'll have to address that cost in a budget amendment and keep going forward.
Has your staff come up with any suggestions or ideas on how this could be maintained going forward so that the city doesn't have to be spending $10,000 every year to clean this mess up?
We've talked about, trying to maybe be out there more regularly to prevent folks from establishing a foothold, but, as little as possible, I'd prefer having staff even go out there. It's not safe to get out there. You have to be careful. And so there's that possibility. We've talked about whether there's any way to safely burn some of the brush and stuff so that it's more visible when people are out there. I don't know what that is like realistically. There's trains that go through there. Multiple trains per day need to be able to use those bridges, and we can't, have out of control fire in that area, obviously. So there's some discussion around it. But even if we, were to control this spot, we do have another serious issue where we've had to do these kinds of cleanups in other parts throughout the community, whether it's here or somewhere else. It's going to continue to be an issue.
I just want to say a couple things. So I really appreciate that you're working with Rolling Hills Coalition because, as you know, but maybe others don't know, Ottumwa has numbers like ratio-wise comparable to that of Des Moines for people experiencing homelessness. So I do appreciate that we're working with them because Rolling Hills does offer a lot of other services too. Instead of just housing, there's some other services that they can provide with that too. What is that eviction process going to look like, and will it allow them to, grab some of their things too?
Yeah. So we're not entirely, we haven't, planned out exactly each step we're going to take. I don't believe that our plan is going to be to, post any long amount of notice, but we would give folks, a courteous amount of time to collect personal items. We don't want to have to, throw away everybody's personal items. Money-wise, it would also be very sad, and it would also not be practical. We would rather folks are able to have what they want to take away as long as they can, move orderly. But we're going to continue to kind of iron that out, but we do want to try to carry out an eviction pretty quickly and do it next week. So
I do, and I understand it has to be safe when it needs to be done. However, Councilperson Galloway, I do agree with her. There's still people. There's still Ottumwans. So my recommendation is we kind of need to treat that professionally. There's still people, and I don't want their stuff thrown away, and we don't want to make more homeless. We need to give them some kind of assistance to kind of help them up, not just so that they don't return, just so that they can get the help they need. I think they've probably been back there so long, or they go back there, they have nowhere else to go. So I do appreciate that we're working. I would just like to keep a close eye to make sure that, there's still Ottumwans and they still need taken care of. So I don't want to go like immediately and say, hey, you get off this land, we're going to clean it up. They still need chances as well.
I recommend whenever your department decides to make a move on that, to get them evicted, to put a sign up there that says in 2 weeks, you and your personal property has to be off because we are going to evict people, and that way they have 2 weeks to find some other place.
Yeah, and I do agree that we want to try to give some amount of time. Our concern with posting a notice that gives very much time is if something happens during the time that we gave folks, it's our property, and we're kind of responsible for what happens to people on our property. And so, and posting the notice itself is going to be disruptive to the people that live there. They're going to start moving things. People could get into fights over what's theirs, things like that. So I don't want to be in a situation where we're going to provoke people to be unsafe or more unsafe than they are and have posted that we've, in a sense, given permission to be there. So we're going to try to figure out the best way to do that, to give folks a good amount of time to get the things that they need and be fair and do what we can do. But we also have to, be aware of what our responsibility is with it being our property. It's a little bit different than the evictions we've done related to private property, and we've, worked with property owners. We've had posted eviction notices for a period of time.
I understand.
And so, yeah,
I'm not
I absolutely
saying that.
agree.
I'm just saying it gives everybody your theory that you don't want them to get in a fight over something, that's going to happen either way.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I just think it's, even though they probably knew it was wrong all along by looking at the pictures, they still are human.
Absolutely.
I think if you say in 2 weeks or this date, then.
Yeah, I think they need a little time too. And like I said, I don't mean this bad. Please don't anybody take it wrong. Nobody wakes up one morning and decides that this is there's circumstances there, maybe beyond their control. Maybe they, that's probably not what they want. So I believe they need I agree. I think they need a respectable amount of time I understand the liability too. I just think they need a respectable amount of time so they can keep some dignity about themselves.
I would say this particular case, we went out about 2 weeks ago and kind of walked him through what was coming. We've moved him from 3 different locations, and we've always been really respectful with him. He knows what's coming, but this particular case, we were out there about 2 weeks ago and they know, you know, Robert, I'm sorry, this person, you know, this is coming, you know, you need to start gathering your stuff, and we've been really respectful.
So there's only one person?
Yeah,
This is just one person's
I thought
area,
you
but
said
there are
there
other
were
people
multiple.
out there.
Oh, there are multiple.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're aware that there are other people out there. The gentleman we've talked to has told us that there's other people out there. We expect that as we go about doing this, that we're going to find more people out there and more things that are going to need to be done.
Have you had any indication that there's children out there also besides adults?
Not specifically, no.
Well, I think maybe it would be appropriate to post signage indicating that it's private property and access is resisted or not allowed. And once they've got that information, they need to make plans to move. We're not throwing them off the property. They had no right to be there to start with. And so they took access, and now they're taking our time and effort to try to settle it with them. But I think, I wouldn't want to be a policeman told to go on Turkey Island with no real access other than a boat or a railroad tracks. So we're actually serving them by getting them off of the island and allowing them to relocate, if possible, someplace else. We have campgrounds where you can camp, but of course it does cost something. This one is costing us something because we're not charging anything. We're just trying to deal with it. So I recommend that we post it, private property, no access available.
I was gonna ask that question too, is there any permanent signage that's ever been put out there in the past by the city that says this area is restricted to no camping and blah, blah, blah? I mean, is there any kind of permanent signage?
What is the nature of the signs around the bridges and things like that?
You're not supposed to be on the bridge, it's supposed to not to be on the bridge, and you can be fined for that, but there's no posting as far as Turkey Island.
The bridge is the only access to, correct?
Yeah, there is no access besides the 2 bridges. So if you can't get on the bridges legally, then you shouldn't be there, but there are no other signs.
Yeah, once it gets cleaned up, it probably wouldn't be bad to put some kind of permanent signs posted on city property that this area is not to be used for camping or anything, and that people are trespassing if they do that.
Yeah, I know the railroad police have done actions out there before as well for folks trespassing on the railroad property portion that's out there.
Zach, would you say it would be a smaller cost, we could trim it and make it more visible?
Yeah, I think that there's definitely something possible there. It's not going to be a very small cost. Any amount of work that's done out there is going to be at a premium because, first of all, it's hard to get out there.
And how you gonna haul it off?
And yeah, you got to haul everything in and out. It's going to be hard.
Any other questions for Zach from council?
Well, I would not be interested in paying a contract person $10,000 or $15,000 to go out and clean up the mess. If our budget is already over, we need to project a time when we can send some of our people out there for a few hours at a given time and give them a method of getting that trash off the island that's safe. And if it takes us a year to do it, it just takes us a year to do it.
Zach, how long, what timeline do you think it would take for our city staff to do that? I'm just thinking of the perspective of how long it would give some of these people time to collect their things and get off of Turkey Island. Because from the pictures, it does look like there might be families. So if the city does designate a time to go out and clean up that island, what would that timeline look like? Would it be too long? Or would it get done?
I won't be able to speak to that because it would involve some of the other department heads. It would have to be staff from other departments. My department doesn't have that as a function. That's why we have the contract with J&J to do our nuisance abatements. I don't know what other staff availability is. I know that everybody's very overworked and is not eager to volunteer for that job. But I think that'd be something staff would have to get together with Phil and try to figure out.
Yeah, I say, I mean, staff is stretched pretty thin as it is. this isn't something that we had in the budget. So, I mean, as far as timeline, it would be when time was allotted. If they weren't, doing other projects, like parks, for example, this is high mowing season right now. They're basically mowing just about every day. They're taking care of the parks, the trails, the beach, all of that. So, and you can't say, well, just do it on a rain day when they're not mowing, because who's going to be out there cleaning up when it's raining? Yeah. So it's really not, and it's not necessarily winter work either. That's why we contract some of this stuff out. So I understand what Councilman Cavanis is saying as far as, trying to use city staff, but that is substituting work that they're doing otherwise. So that's taking time away from building inspections, rental inspections, other things. If Zach's crew is doing it, it's taking away from park and trail maintenance. If Parks is doing it, road maintenance if Public Works is doing it. These are all things that are a priority to the city as well.
Well, and I would just ask, like, cost-effective wise, is it gonna be about, if we have city staff doing it, would it be about the same cost? And because we would be having to do cleanup and then also the regular scheduled program, too, so.
If you're looking at it from the perspective of like the hours of work being done, and not just saying, well, we're paying these people to do work regardless of what that work is, then I would say it would be more cost effective to contract that out, because I think the labor from the contractor is going to be at a lower rate than our city staff members.
I would also, I guess, want to understand from the attorney, we have a contract that's exclusive with J&J. I don't know if that contract prohibits us from doing nuisance abatement cleanups with our staff. If they would feel they were entitled to any of that work as a result of that contract, we'd want to understand that as well. If the council does say, we've already exceeded the budget for cleanups, we need to find another way to do the cleanup, then staff will have to come together and try to think about how we can do that if we can, and then, either come back with a recommendation or try to carry something out. So.
I think we need to make some kind of an estimate as to how many hours it would take to clean up what's there.
Yeah,
And then determine how long it might take us to get rid of it, because I still don't want to spend $10,000 to pay a contract person to go into an area that you can't get there by, other than boat or walk across the railroad tracks.
J&J indicated it would take 3 to 4 days to do the cleanup, and that's why they said it'd be between $7,500 and $10,000. So we've already got that information.
And that is just for the stuff they saw. So like I said, we do expect when we get out there that we're going to find more than what they were able to see in the one area. But yeah, they do expect 3 to 4 full days for their crew. Correct. And yes, we are. But as far as, there's a certain degree to which these are essential functions we have to do. And if we've used our entire budget for firefighter overtime, we don't let something burn down. We have to, do some of our essential functions. And I do think there's a degree to which that's kind of been the cleanups that we've already had to do. I think that we have to probably look at our budget priorities and figure out how we can continue to do these activities responsibly. But, these are our messes that we don't make, but we have to try to clean up for the welfare of the community. So.
We would not consider sending someone over there with a lawnmower to do mowing and stuff like that. That'd be ridiculous to mow it.
Right.
We need to get rid of the trash.
Right.
That's what we need to get rid of.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And the bid for getting rid of the trash from J&J is $5,000 to $10,000.
And I'm assuming they'd have to go by boat as well. Without permission from the railroad, they'd be trespassing as well.
Well, they are going to use the bridge. I don't totally know the way around that, but they're going to use an ATV and get across the bridge with a trailer.
When they use the bridge, though, that's kind of on them and their contract, right? That's not.
And we'll try to communicate with the railroad as well.
No, I mean, they're liable for that, right? That's.
Is it Canadian Pacific or Burlington Northern?
I think it's Canadian Pacific.
Jeff, a safer way to do it, using the bridge too. It's safer for them, isn't it, too?
You would have to use the bridge would be the safest way to do it. But, I mean, it's like a half a mile once you get to the bridge to where this is. So this is like not easy at all.
Yeah.
This is a real problem. That's why I think once we get it cleaned up, we get our signs, but we're gonna have to have some kind of regular patrol out there. And to Zach's point, I mean, we're not carrying guns and weapons. I mean, I think we're gonna have the police go through there or something. I'm not to throw things around, but.
Can we use the boat that hazmat, the fire department has?
I don't
boats,
think
right?
that it's,
Don't they have two boats? Yeah.
I don't think that it's meant for carrying tons
Oh, no, I
of.
meant for patrolling.
Oh, possibly. I don't know about that.
Yeah, we may be able to, I think we just approved about, getting 3 drones. I think one of them was gonna have,
They get way
heat
back-
sensors.
They get way back in there, so you're not gonna see them from the boat.
Heat sensors.
Yeah.
With the
you're gonna
drones.
need drones, because you can't see them from the bridges, and you can't see them from the water. They're down in there.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think in the future, we'll be able to maybe use the drones with thermal imaging to help with that, notice if there's anybody out there or not, and before having to go out there to patrol it.
Yeah, and that would help with that safety option too, and not putting us out. Okay.
With the drone too, can you go to an exact location? I mean, you could kind of know where you're going when you go back in there, right?
Yeah, I don't know what the drones
Got it.
specifically are, but
You could go right almost to a,
With the M30T, which was on that list, you can pinpoint with high accuracy of where anything is at. It's you got a lot of capabilities with that. I think there's also a Mavic 3T on that list, which is very close in capabilities to the M30T, but this would probably be a better job for the M30T. But yeah, you can put exact points on there and send somebody out.
So I guess what I'm hearing is maybe there's not a clear-cut decision on this from city council, and staff maybe work with Rolling Hills and maybe work on a plan and could follow up with cleanup plans at a later meeting.
I don't know, I think we're about
I
pretty
think
much
we're-
on
I
the
think
same
we can
page,
vote.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're all right.
Vote.
I mean, you're gonna, the Rolling Hills is gonna help take care of the people, we're gonna help take care of the people, the trash, I think.
We have solutions for afterwards.
Okay, if there's no other questions from council, Chris will go ahead and take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
thank you.
Request for proposals, janitorial services at the Law Center. Recommendation authorize the city to solicit RFPs for janitorial services at the Law Center.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Okay. Lieutenant Hux. Lieutenant Hux, are you going to take this?
You want me to read it? Okay. All right. The current vendor gave notice of retirement effective June 30th of this year and does not wish to extend the current contract as allowed for another 12-month period. They're not exercising the renewal option. Department would review the previous RFP and work with staff for appropriate notification. And I think you're just looking to put out notice for a request for bids or proposals.
Correct.
And that covers some areas in the sheriff's department as well as the police department and access and egress from the building itself.
It does. Yes, shared spaces and then the law center for the police department.
Okay.
And then the county has their own people that cleans their area, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Does council have any questions for Lieutenant Hux?
No, it's pretty cut and dry. Motion to approve.
Have we
Well,
sent out
that's
any?
already been done.
Oh, well,
RFPs?
yes.
So we're gonna vote now.
Do we
No,
have
this
any?
is the request to. Well, Councilperson Cavaness did.
I was just wondering if we sent out any RFPs yet.
This is to allow us to do that.
Okay, that's good.
Yes, sir.
Okay, if there's no other questions, then Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Resolution number 103, 2024, approving and authorizing the mayor to sign an MOU regarding accrual reset dates leave between the city of Ottumwa and Teamsters Local number 238 for the police department. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 103, 2024.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Okay, Barb.
Thank you, sir. So this is a memorandum of understanding with our police union. We've been in conversations with them to work on moving the accrual date resets. We have spoken with our fire department, our public works department, and our muni contracts. This language is going to be in those contracts. This will be getting the police department on the same page and then eventually getting our personnel policy on the same page. Right now for accruals, they reset at 3 different times throughout the year, and it depends upon which department you're in, and even say like our dependent sick or our holidays. Some departments may reset in July, some departments may reset in November, some may reset in January. So what this is this is an effort to get everybody streamlined on the same process and everything essentially resetting in January. So we've had conversations with the police department. This has gone through their union stewards. They have approved it, and we are just asking for permission to have the mayor sign that.
And then would this be rolled into the library's contract when theirs is due next year?
Yes, that's the plan. Yep.
Okay.
This fall when
They'd
we
all
go
be the
through,
same then.
yeah, this fall, we're slated to go through negotiations with library this fall. And so, yes, we will take this to them and say that, you know, we're doing it with all of the other contracts. So, like I said, and hopefully in the next meeting, you will see the contracts with fire, public works, and muni, and you'll see this language in there. And then you will also see the language in our personnel policy as well, changed to reflect this so that it's very easy for everyone to remember and understand.
Does council have any questions for Barb? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution number 104, 2024, approving change order number 1 and accepting the work as final and complete, and approving the final pay request for the 2021 Catch Basin Replacement Program. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 104, 2024.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
Move the recommendation.
Okay, Mr. Bergmeyer.
Thank you, Mayor. So this resolution is to close out the 2021 Catch Basin Program. The original contract amount was $54,030. Change order number 1, that should have had a negative sign by it. It lowered the contract amount by $2,776.70 for a new contract amount of $51,253.30. It's an older contract. Back after COVID, we told contractors if they would please keep bidding work in the city, we'd work with them on some of the not quite so time sensitive programs. So, you know, this wasn't so time sensitive. The really bad ones, I think we fixed one of these with the city crews in the meantime. But anyway, the work is complete, so we're just asking to close the program out.
So I guess the question I had, since this is from 2021, this is something that the city delayed. The people that's doing the work delayed them getting the work done, right?
We told them if they kept bidding work in the city, we'd let them do other work first. So the contractor that did this, they did part of the Green Street project. They did the parking lot for Bridgeview Center. They've done some street work for us, different sewer repairs. They've done all kinds of work in the meantime. But like I said, you'll see the 2022 catch basin programs on here next, but these programs we just find catch basins that aren't in very good repair. They're not collapsing. If they were collapsing in, we'd repair them in-house right away, but they're just ones that aren't in very good shape, or the castings are old, or, you know, just need to be replaced. So like I said, it's not really time sensitive, so we let them push these programs off and then do other work ahead of it. So
I just didn't want the public to think that people had been waiting 2 years before they got final payment from the city.
No, they haven't been waiting that long. They just finished it up now.
Okay, all right. Does council have any questions for Philip on this particular subject? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Resolution number 105, 2024, approving change order number 1 and accepting the work as final and complete, and approving the final pay request for the 2022 Catch Basin Replacement Program. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 105, 2024.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Okay, Philip.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So same story. This one had a change order that increased it by $2,912.50, so roughly the same as the other one. But this one went up instead of down. There's a little bit, we put an extra catch basin on here. Contract amount went from $55,187.50 to $58,100. Again, it was from 2022, but they just finished it now because we wanted to keep bidding work. This shouldn't be a problem in the future, though. There's not as much work now as there was then. So the availability of contractors is a lot better in the last couple of years.
Is BC Concrete and Construction LLC the company that you usually work with to do these?
It's a competitive bid, but they've got it. They don't get it every time, but they're competitive every time.
Okay. Does council have any questions for Philip regarding this item? Okay,
This
if
is
not-
concrete?
Yeah, they're concrete catch basins, and then we replace the castings on them as well. So the cast iron grate and the curb inlet part, and we pay for new ones with each new catch basin. And if we decide that the one they're taking off is worth keeping, we'll keep it, have it in storage, and then when we repair our own catch basins, we'll use a lot of those castings to do those.
Any other questions from council? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution number 107, 2024, fixing May 21st, 2024 at 5:30 PM as the date for a public hearing on the matter of the proposed authorization of a loan agreement and the issuance of not to exceed $350,000 general obligation urban renewal capital loan notes to evidence the obligations of the city thereunder. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 107, 2024.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Okay, Mr. O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mayor. Previously, urban renewal bonds could be issued as general obligation, and as Zach mentioned, House File 718 changed the designation of these types of bonds, and they now must be issued under general obligation urban renewal designation. As such, the $350,000 budgeted support grants and projects in the Westgate urban renewal area must be issued separately from the larger GO issuance. Prior to action on the issuance of the bonds, a public hearing must be held, and the resolution sets the hearing for May 21st at 5:30 PM.
Does council have any questions for Mr. O'Donnell? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Don't go away.
I know, I got a couple more here, so.
Resolution number 108, 2024, authorizing the purchase of Planet Capital Improvement Plan financial software in the amount of $10,000. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 108, 2024.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Okay, Mr. O'Donnell.
As part of the ongoing discussion on future finances, staff has stated that the establishment of a 5-year capital improvement plan, CIP, that projects all revenues and expenses is essential to ensuring that operational and capital needs are met in coming years. Planet software allows for the input of all revenues and expenses while providing estimated ending and beginning balances based on capital projects entered. As a web-based program, department heads can enter, edit, or delete projects through the online portal. As the projects progress, updates on completion will be entered to better track expenses and revenues that will coincide with our financial software. This will help with the annual budget estimates and should a project be delayed or have cost overruns. Projects will be prioritized. Critical and needed projects will be identified and given top priority. We will also include priorities of efficiency and meets goals. These two priorities identify projects that are neither critical or needed but will improve operations with possible cost savings or better service delivery, and projects that meet the goals of the City Council or included in master plans. The cost of the software, which is annual, it's an annual fee of $10,000. The cost of software will be split between departments depending on the number of users. The base fee is $2,500 and will come from the finance department's budget. Each additional license is $500. However, the $10,000 annual cost allows for unlimited users. It may be where departments will be funded one license with costs and the cost comes up under $10,000 after those licenses are issued, then being equally split from departments. Or if there is more than 10 licenses used, then we'll take everything above $2,500 and we will divide it by the number of licenses, and that's how we'll charge each department.
This Planet software is needed because the new financial software that the council recently approved doesn't do these kind of projections, but it'll be compatible with the new financial platform, correct?
Correct, because they both utilize Microsoft Excel, so they do talk to each other. We can draw financial information out of the new financial software into Planet, and then we can draw out of Planet into the financial software when we're doing our budgeting and other items. So it will help us keep track of the project expenses and the revenues associated with that. As you saw with the budget amendment that we set the hearing for, or passed actually, that a lot of the additional expenses were for capital projects that maybe got carried over, or something changed, or something else. This will allow us to track that much better and be better. And so what it is you won't see, hopefully, budget amendments that are $9 to $17 million in changes. You'll see it more what is necessary just to make sure that they're within budget guidelines.
And this Planet software, from what you told us before, will be accessible by department heads and some of their key staff, so there'll be a lot of people being able to input data that your department will help track.
Correct. It is a web-based, and the licenses are basically access to the portal, and with unlimited license, and there's different degrees of access as well. So we could have department heads having full access. We can have the department managers then having a more limited access that allows them to maybe track the projects or suggest projects before submitting to the department head, who then approves them and submits them further.
Okay, does council have any questions for Mr. O'Donnell regarding Planet software? I think we've talked about it before. So, okay, if there's no questions, then Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanis?
Yes.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Resolution number 109, 2024, authorizing all third quarter as of March 31st, 2024 transfers for fiscal year 2024 as presented by the Finance Department. Recommendation: pass and adopt resolution number 109, 2024.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Okay, Mr. O'Donnell.
The resolution approves the quarterly budgeted fund transfers for March 31, 2024, as required by the state of Iowa. And there is a list. The total transfers for this quarter is $2,833,886.93.
Okay, does council have any questions regarding this item for Mr. O'Donnell? Okay, if not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanis?
Yes.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Resolution number 110, 2024, authorizing inter-fund loan from general fund to the golf course fund in the amount of $74,245.50 for golf course termination payment. Recommendation: pass and adopt resolution number 110, 2024.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Okay, Mr. O'Donnell.
The City Council passed Resolution 93, 2024, that authorizes the payment to Greg Wilson, DBA Integrity Golf, LLC, as part of the termination agreement. The payment would be from Fund 750 Golf Course, which does not have sufficient reserves to make the payment. Staff is recommending an interfund loan in the payment amount from the general fund to the golf course fund. Repayment to the general fund will be from user fees of the golf course. The term is until paid, with the user fees user fee revenues will fluctuate. We are legally required to charge interest on the loan, and staff is reckoning 1% per annum.
Okay, does council have any questions on this particular item for Mr. O'Donnell?
Do we have any estimate how long that'll take to pay off?
I think that from the estimates that Phil and I looked at, that 3 to 4 years if everything works correctly.
And generally speaking, that's an acceptable time frame to have borrowed that money at 1%?
Yes, I would say that if it was any longer than that, we would have looked at something different. But on the 3 to 4 years, I think that that's a sufficient time frame.
Okay, I'll go play golf right away.
All right.
What's our plan moving forward so that we, like in the future, if we have to make a payment like that, we do have funding in that fund?
Well, as we pay this off, what we will do is we'll make sure that we budget to start building reserves as soon as possible so that there is sufficient funds in order to do that. I think that we need to look at all of our funds and establish a reserve amount so that we're able to meet certain needs. I think in the golf course fund, given the way it's structured, we may not need, we certainly wouldn't need $1 million, but if we had a couple $100,000 in there just in case for different things, but we will work towards that.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea too, because I look back at some of the other projects that we've had to do, and we haven't had the funding because we haven't had that reserve. So I think starting to really build that up, I think that's a great idea.
Certainly, and this is and again, how the former agreement worked and everything, this is an unusual situation.
Yeah, the other part with this is we started the process with the most recent, with the change in the agreement. Previously, the dollar was 50 cents per round was not coming back to the city. It was going into capital improvements that were being made out there at the course. Now that dollar per round, it was increased to $1, but it's coming back to the city in addition to the annual payment for exclusive rights to the course. So that should help build up that reserve as well, which hadn't been done previously. So it was a little bit of pre-planning on that with the opportunity of the new agreement. So I think we're working towards that currently.
Yeah, great.
Any other questions from council? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanis?
Yes.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Resolution number 115, 2024, resolution of support for workforce housing development project by Bloomfield Acres LLC. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 115, 2024.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Okay, Zach.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. I'm going to kind of present on the next two items at the same time. I think they're pretty much directly related, and I think that that'll be the best way to organize this going forward. There are some slides here. And just as a preface, this is a project I'm really excited about. It's been kind of a culmination of a lot of effort we've put into our derelict property program, our vacant lot program that's been directly influenced by that, but then all of our activities around housing, some recommendations that came out of the housing study. And so we're really a lot of excitement, a lot of satisfaction with getting to this point, and a lot more work to do, but this is a project that we're very eager to present. We were approached by Kading Properties, if you want to go to the next slide. They're an Iowa-based developer since 1976 with projects all over, especially central Iowa, but all over the state. And they're interested in pursuing a workforce housing project here in Ottumwa. And we'll talk a little bit about what workforce housing means on a later slide. Generally, Kading Properties builds their own developments and then owns and maintains those rental properties with their own arm that does property management. And so it's a good model that allows them to be sustainable in the way that they grow. It also allows us to trust that there's going to be some accountability for how these properties are maintained going forward, that the developer is going to build something that they want to continue to own and operate themselves, which I think is of value to us. On the next slide, this is just a couple of photos of Kading projects that are either in development or complete in other parts of the state. We are very satisfied that they have delivered a quality product in other communities, and we're excited to have the opportunity to work with them here as well. Folks from Kading are going to present as well. After I finish here, they're going to talk a little bit about their process and their work as well. On the next slide, I wanted to get into what workforce housing tax credits are and what we mean when we say workforce housing. So the state of Iowa has a program to incentivize market rate housing that's affordable to working Iowans. And this tax credit does a couple of things. The first is that it does allow folks an exemption from sales and service tax for costs related to development. But larger in terms of value is that there is a state investment tax credit valued at 20%. In a small city like Ottumwa, it's only 10% in other communities, but in the cities that are not in the 11 most populous counties, there's a small city set aside that bumps that number up to 20% of the investment on the first $150,000 per unit for a total project maximum of $1 million for that investment tax credit. There is a per unit cap on what you can spend building these units, and it's $298,000 and some change for single family homes and $241,600 for multifamily units. The program requires a resolution of support from the local community that provides a minimum investment from the local community of at least $1,000 per unit. And we are looking at doing an incentive that exceeds that minimum, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. This project is related to infill, medium-density housing development on existing city-owned vacant lots. These are primarily lots that we've acquired either through tax sale forfeitures or as property gifts, and these are primarily lots where derelict homes stood before. They were bringing down these neighborhoods, and we had to make significant investment in order to remove those properties, but we're now left with a lot of these neighborhoods that I call them Swiss cheese neighborhoods, where we've taken out holes here and there, and there's a gap in the block, and that gap's an opportunity to reverse the direction. And so these infill developments will happen in neighborhoods that have been impacted by blight, by these derelict properties, and will be a catalyst toward redevelopment. We're looking at medium density or middle density, which could be duplexes, threeplexes, fourplexes, townhomes, some of these things that will fit on these lots as suits the size and as suits some of the other characteristics. And we're going to be working with Kading over a due diligence period to figure out what the best development is for each of the lots they're looking at. We're looking at 30 lots right now. There's some room for future consideration on other lots. There's specifically some lots that currently belong to the school district that the district has indicated that they're amenable to releasing as well. And so those might be included in a future conversation. Right now, the process that we're looking at is we would accept those gifts or those properties from the district, and then we would sell them on to Kading, but there might be an opportunity to skip that middle step, but we're trying to figure that out for those properties. This is also a longer-term partnership over 3 years or so, where we might come to acquire additional tax sale properties and show those to Kading, and they might prefer those to some of the ones that are here, or they might expand the project, things like that. The developer does intend to own and rent these units at market rate. On the next slide, this is what's on the agenda for tonight. The first is a resolution to set the date for a public hearing. Those are in the wrong order. The first is actually the resolution of support for the workforce housing tax credit application. And then the second is to set a public hearing for the purchase agreement. And we were able to work with our legal team to put together a purchase agreement that everyone was able to agree to. And honestly, it was a little bit of pressure on us to get that done. I'm really thankful for the team at Allers. They were able to get that purchase agreement done in a short period of time and to respect the deadline for this workforce housing tax credit program. On the next slide, what the resolution of support does. We'll do them in the reverse order here, I guess, too. What the resolution to set the public hearing does is set next council meeting, May 21st, as the date of a public hearing on an agreement to purchase 30 lots from the city. I'll talk about some terms that make that more of a purchase option agreement than a direct agreement to purchase 30 lots, but we'll do that a little bit further down. So there will be further opportunity to discuss the purchase agreement at the next meeting. Next slide here. This is where we discuss the terms of the purchase agreement. So one of the conditions, obviously, is that the workforce tax credit application be approved, at which point only with that are they looking to proceed with purchasing these lots at this time. Also described as local incentive. And we're suggesting leveraging the existing Build Ottumwa program, which provides an incentive of $10,000 per unit for single family and duplex right now, but we're also looking at opening that up to the medium density that's constructed under this project as well. And it would be subject to annual appropriation by the council.
So that would be more than the $1,000 per unit minimum that they
Right.
require.
Right, it would be more, and that's in conversation with the developer about what they're looking to do for the project, but it's also looking at something that's available to anyone who were to try to undertake some of these units.
So it's already the program that we're doing.
Right, it is a program we're already doing. The only thing that we would be looking at possibly expanding is if they are looking at any threeplexes or fourplexes, if we were looking at a per unit incentive there. That's not already within the program, and so that's something we would look at as those opportunities come up. The second thing that's a term in the purchase agreement is a due diligence period. Through August 19th, the developer would perform at their own expense an acquisition study to determine the viability of each lot for development, and they would select from the 30 that they're looking at. In 3 tranches, we're looking at separate closings where they would close on a certain number of lots that they're prepared to develop, continue the project, and then close again on lots further down the road. And these would be purchased at $125 per lot in 3 separate closings. That's at that 125 number comes from similar to our vacant property program. We generally request $250 a lot. There is $150 per lot that's available to nonprofits, and we're using the number there kind of as an additional incentive to bring the costs down. And then on the closing costs, there's also an item here. The developer does require a full abstract for these lots, and it's understandable why they do. These are lots that we acquired on tax sale. Some of the, there may be things that we need to resolve on title, and so they are requesting, and we've proposed in this that the city would pay $500 per abstract, and any cost per abstract above $500 would be paid by the developer. And then there would be no use of tax increment financing for this program as described. The only abatement that could apply to the taxes would be the regular citywide abatement that's available to anybody that would have built a project like this as well, the urban revitalization abatement that we discussed with the amendment earlier tonight. The next slide is the resolution of support. This is the other item. This is actually the first item you're voting on, which would be the resolution that describes that the city supports the project, and it describes that the city will meet at least the required minimum match. So it does set out the $10,000 per unit here. And this resolution will be provided to IEDA with their grant application, or I'm sorry, with their tax credit application. And then I wanted to talk a little bit on the next slide just about the value as our department sees it for this project, because there's a couple of things that we think are really beneficial here and that line up with goals established in the housing plan. The first is that this is infill development. This is on existing vacant lots, and that means that there's a lot of cost savings for the city compared to building, say, 30 or so new middle density buildings in a new subdivision. We don't have to undertake installing new lanes of, or new lane miles of new street. We don't have to undertake installing new city sewer. That infrastructure already exists. The second thing about infill that we're really excited about is the impact it can have on the rest of the neighborhood. We've in places been able to test this approach. We've been able to sell some of our vacant lots for new development. Rippling Waters has done a couple. Some other private homeowners have done a couple. A church has done one as well on Ward Street. And we've been able to see that the neighborhoods where those houses have been placed look a lot better than they did before. And we're seeing those neighborhoods move in a better direction. And so we're hoping that these lots will have the same kind of catalytic effect for the neighborhoods where these new units are placed in terms of value, but also in terms of quality of life. The second is that these are city-owned lots, which means we're already paying maintenance to mow these lots. So being able to get rid of several of these lots at once is obviously really appealing to us, not just because it gets rid of maintenance costs, but because it's going to put these properties back on the tax roll and continue to generate new value. The second is the middle density part of this, or the medium density part of this. Our housing study talks a lot about the missing middle as it relates to housing opportunity in Ottumwa. And there's unit types, there's products that aren't available in the market, and there are things that we could achieve by building different. It's also, by building at the middle density, we're able to make these projects viable in a cost sense. If we build a duplex on a lot, you're able to get twice as much rent or so as you would get from a single family home there, which means the developer has more flexibility to create the product. But it also means that our valuation can go up a little bit more as well. There's a lot of things about density that make it more beneficial on our costs as well. So we're excited about that being included along with this. Obviously new value from new units, and that these are market rate rents. We looked at what Kading is generally renting their available units for across the state, and around $925 for a 2-bedroom and $1,150 for a 3-bedroom is very close to what's market rate in Ottumwa. This isn't subsidized or anything like that. These are good quality new market rate units that we're talking about with this development as well. And then finally, just introducing a new variety of housing concepts. We've had a couple of townhome projects. We've had a couple of new duplexes on Weaver Drive that are kind of demonstrating that there is demand for folks to rent those types of units. And so having a new variety of types with these middle density concepts, I think is going to prove a viability for some new concepts as well. I think that's what I have for slides. We can have an opportunity for questions, but first I want to introduce the folks from Kading who came all the way down today and have sat through our meeting with us. So thank you. If y'all want to come up.
Hi there, I'm Carrie Kading Ramsey, and I've been with Kading for 23 years. I also am a Kading, so it feels like a lifetime, right? But no, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. We've been doing this a long time, about 47 years we've been in the business, and our property is for lease. I want to be very clear about that. It does come with a property management company. There's always questions around that, so I want to make sure that I get any of those questions answered. And then just anything else about our company, we do handle anything from acquisition to build out to the property management company. So if we come in, ideally we've talked to Zach, and I spent a day with Zach driving around to each one of the lots, and we would like to take down 7 to 10 this fall, put foundations in, kind of get everything going. This fall, and then 7 to 10, each year after that of the 30, if we can find that we can use all 30. So, there's still a lot of due diligence that has to be done.
When you build single-family homes or duplexes, do you ever build them with basements, or are they always built like on a slab?
We always do slab on grade.
Okay.
Yes.
So you identified that there is a management company. Will they be here local in town?
Yep, that's our goal. That's why we want to get, a volume so that we can make sure that that makes sense.
Perfect.
So.
And they'll make sure that the properties are being appropriately maintained and everything.
Yes, that was one of our conversations we had with Zach as we were driving around. We have a lot of rules, and so we'll record something this thick at the recorder's office that says these are the rules that are associated with the property. We'll have mow contracts. In fact, I was listening, and I think J is one of our contracts that we have in Pella. So, so it's nice to know that they're here too. But we have contracts with mowing, we have contracts with management, we have, our goal is to really fill that missing middle gap. We're looking for your employees who are working 50 hours a week. That's who's going to live with us. We'll have your teachers. There might be some police officers that live with us. People that are hard to hold in your community that you don't have housing for right now. That's really who we're going to pick up.
We really need that in Ottumwa.
We've recognized that on the due diligence that we've done this far.
During your building process, when you're building when you're building them, are you going to use local contractors, local help, or will it be out of town?
It's hard to tell you that right now. Lots of different scenarios happen. We'll always go out to bid, so they'll have the opportunity to bid. We would love to use local folks if we can, because then we don't have to have them stay here. It's always seems to be more affordable if you can find the right people. We are going to build 7 to 10 around the same time, so they've got to have the capacity. It's been before that we've been able to do, maybe 2 contractors here at this one and 2 there. So we will try to break it up too if we, if that's an available option. We just don't know what's available as far as contractors right now. But we're really good about working through the processes. And actually we use contractors all over the state of Iowa. So we have about 800 vendors and contractors that we use, anywhere from Storm Lake to Corridon. So we have a large footprint. We're in 26 communities, 13 counties. So
you mentioned you have contract for mowing. You have a contract for snow removal.
We will have a contract for snow removal. If it's a single family house, then the snow removal would be up to the resident.
Okay.
and we don't know what the due diligence on the lot. A lot of these lots don't have abstracts, so that will be part of the process to work through those. So, and I think that the 21st, the contract will be in front of council. The purchase agreement. I won't be able to attend that meeting. I have a council meeting somewhere else that evening, but that's why I wanted to come tonight and make sure that there was any questions about our organization.
We appreciate that. Council have any other questions they'd like to ask?
I just had a quick question for Zach. So, part of it was, I think you were gonna sell properties for $125, and I think you identified that nonprofits, we buy them for $150. Why the $25 difference? I mean,
I meant to say 125.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's half of 250.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? We really appreciate you for coming down. This is really exciting. I'm really glad to hear that your
Yeah.
company's willing to invest in Ottumwa.
Thank you, and thank you for the council's work too. Things that we look for is we want to make sure that you have an inspection code. We appreciate a rental code, so all of my friends that call me and say, hey, we want you to come to the city council and fight against the rental code, I'm not their hero, because I will support a rental code because it helps you guys keep rules in order, and we need rules and we need order, and we do ruffle some feathers sometimes, but that's because we have a tight ship to run. We have our name on the properties, and we want to make sure that they're maintained to the highest level of standard.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, if there's no other questions for Zach, then Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Resolution number 116, 2024, fixing May 21st, 2024 at 5:30 PM as the date for a public hearing on the proposal to convey interest in real property to Bloomfield Acres LLC. Recommendation: pass and adopt resolution number 116, 2024.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Okay, Zach?
There's nothing really to add here. This is just the resolution to set the next meeting.
Okay, any other questions for Zach? Not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavaness?
Yes.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Okay, this is the point in our city council meeting where I'd ask if there is anyone in the audience that would like to speak on any non-agenda items tonight. If you do want to speak, you'll be limited to 3 minutes, and you need to come to the podium and give your name and address and tell us what your item is. The council probably will not be able to take any action on anything because it's not been part of tonight's agenda, but we always ask if people want to talk about non-agenda items. So, sir, if you'd like to come up.
My name is Tim Wright. I own a property at 346 North Marion Street here in Ottumwa. I'm here got a bone to pick with this guy, works in the health department. I come home one night from work, see this little sticker in the window of the car I've got. It's in my driveway. It's dated 3/07/24. I know what these are. So I called down to the health department, asking what the deal was. He says, he's got a complaint about the car in the driveway. Okay. I said, well, who complained about it? So, well, they can't tell me that. So what's the issue with it? Well, it doesn't have a current registration. I go, okay. Well, I explained what the deal was with it. And he says, well, there's a loan still on the car that I can't get the title. I have to register it to somebody else's name. That's a whole different story. It'd take all night to go through that. But I told the guy that's what the deal is. There's nothing wrong with the car. It's complete. There's nothing missing or anything like that. Okay, he says it gives me 3 weeks to get the plates updated. I told him there's no way I can pay this loan off in 3 weeks. And I explained to him crystal clear, they have to have the title. They won't let you switch the plates around unless you have the title for the vehicle. So went through this back in 2018 because this loan was back in 2017. This car was used as collateral for that loan. That's the last time I was able to get a loan on that thing. Remember talking to Doug and Marion when they worked down at the health department before they retired. I told them the same deal with it. Everything was fine. I don't know who this new guy is. He signed the thing. KR is his initials. Tall guy, gray hair and glasses. I guess he took over for either Doug or Marion, one of the two. Anyway, I go down there, talk to him in person, and explain what the deal is with this. He says, well, I'm just doing my job. We got a complaint. Like, well, who complained about it? He wouldn't tell me. So I'm thinking, okay, where my house is at, the house south of me, no one lives in it. It's a placard house that some guys have been working on for quite a while. Nobody lives there. So like, well, I'm pretty sure that guy didn't complain about it. So the house to the north of me is what Tom Panley's rental properties. He don't even live here anymore. He's in Wisconsin or Minnesota. That house is a house cut up in apartments. 2 of them are not livable, 1 is. Somebody just moved in there not too long ago. So obviously that person didn't complain about it. And even if they did, you can't see the car because my house is between that house and the driveway. So then I think, well, across the street, maybe they said something. Well, the big brick apartment building is owned by John Scholes. People that rent the apartments off there don't even speak English. So I doubt they even had a problem with it. So this guy gives me this goes on for about 3 weeks. I didn't think nothing of it. The guy calls me on a Friday, says, hey, we're going to tow that car. I'm like, why? I said, I told you what the deal is. I can't get the current registration on it because I don't have the title for a thing. He says, well, we have to tow it or I have to move it. I'm like, well, I don't have anywhere to move it. That's my property. It's in my driveway, at least a 50 foot from the street. Anyway, I come home from work, go and get mail. Sure enough, the car is gone Friday afternoon. I don't know when he had Darren's come get it. So I go down there and tell him, what is the deal with taking the car? I said, you know, just because it doesn't have the little current sticker on the license plate, there's no call to take one car from a person's private property. It's not derelict or windows busted out or pieces. I mean, it looks like a normal car. And he says, well, I'm just doing my job. I said, well, common sense to tell you, there's no reason. That's not nobody's way. There's no reason other than it didn't have current registration, take it. So I called Darren's. This is the second part of the problem. On Friday, he said, well, they're closed at 5. Well, okay, can't get it out on Friday. I said, how about Saturday? Well, they're open until noon on Saturday. I called the man, Darren, out there at 9 o'clock. He says, oh, I got to haul a semi. I'm not going to be back till afternoon, so you can't get your car today. So I'm out $100 for a towing bill, plus another $20. Okay, I said, what about Sunday? Nope, not open on Sunday, even though that man's available 24 hours to haul cars for the, you know, city, state, whatever. He's got employees. Somebody could have met me out there. So Sunday, another $20, and now we're up to $140. So I get off work early Monday to go get the car, thinking if I can get it before 5 o'clock, shouldn't be charged another $20. Nope, charged me $20, so now we're up to $160. All for just because it didn't have a little sticker on it. So, bring the car back. Had to park it at a friend's house because I didn't want to take a chance leaving it up there and having this guy come up there and tow it off again. Had a relative help me pay the loan off so we can get the title for the thing. And that cost me money there on top of that too. And then anyway, got the sticker on it, took the car right back up there again. I told the guy there was no sense in towing one car off of private property. Now, I know you guys have to have this ordinance for other things, but that's just ridiculous, I think, you know, when it's on private property. If it was in the street, didn't have registration, okay. Or if it's like, good example, you go down Vine Street. Every one of you guys knows where Vine Street's at. You halfway down there, there's a house sitting in the middle. It's got a placard from the health department for like 10 or 15 years. There's cars all the way around it. They're just, you know, packed in there. And you tell there's parts missing and everything else. If you guys want to pick on people with stuff, whoever that is, go after that guy. But another thing is, this guy, when he towed the car on Friday, I think he pretty much knew he was sticking it to me because he knew if it's going to stay out there all weekend, it's going to cost me more money, which it did. Because Darren's not available to let you get your car back on Sunday. And on Saturday, he could have been there, had one of his guys there, but no, gave me excuses, you know. There isn't any reason to have any car towed on a Friday other than to stick it to you, cost you more money. If they're going to tow cars, whatever, do it Monday through Thursday so somebody can get their vehicle back without incurring a lot of cost.
Well, we appreciate your comments, and that might be something that the city council maybe needs to take a look at in the future. I understand what you're saying. I do get what you're saying, but we can't change anything tonight. But at least the council's heard your concern, and it's something they could take a look at in the future.
Yeah, I came down there because I didn't think I got anywhere with that man. I don't know what his name is. I just, you know, I said my 2 cents to him worth, and that's something needs to be done other
Okay.
than that.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Appreciate your comments.
So we are familiar with the case. This case is on Marion. We did receive a complaint that was property owner on Marion. He even came to the mayor. He was concerned. He thought his entire neighborhood was going bad. He wanted us to look at it. So we did canvass the entire run of Marion from 4th Street all the way up the hill and identified several cases that we opened and are pursuing. In this case, the vehicle was not licensed for the current year and is not operable, which by code is a junk vehicle. We did give 3 weeks, which is more than the 10 days notice that we originally gave. We tried to give time, but we did ultimately tow the vehicle. There's no choice that's made what day to tow it for the purpose of hurting anybody. Darren's contract, I don't think, makes him responsible for accepting vehicles out of impound on weekends. We can certainly look at that possibility, changing to not towing on Fridays, but you know, it just comes down to when our staff's able to get to something and when Darren's able to get to something. We have to schedule around him as well. So there's definitely no malice to it, but it is what the action was under code, and we followed the process. So.
It sounds like he has taken care of the issue now, though, as far as the car getting licensed and title and everything.
Yeah, I imagine it's probably still inoperable, but if it, by all appearances, is fine, it's probably not going to get tagged again. So.
Thank you for that clarification, Zach. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak on any non-agenda items tonight before we get ready to adjourn our city council meeting? Before we adjourn, does anybody on the council have any report or communication they want to give to the public regarding anything? I don't have anything specific tonight.
I do. Okay, so this weekend is very busy in Ottumwa. First off, there is there's Love Where You Live event from Ottumwa Leadership Academy, and it's Friday and Saturday. Go to Facebook and see all the great things. There's lots. So Friday is more for the adults. Saturday is for kids and family. And I think Friday it starts at 5, and all of this is taking place in Central Park. And maybe Barb has more to add.
So starting at 5 o'clock is a .325 run, race, walk, stroll, crawl, whatever you'd like to do from Morgan's Corner to Tom Tom Tap. And then there will be live bands in Central Park starting at 6 p.m. Rushmore, which is a Ottumwa native Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee band, will be playing at 6. DJ Skinny will be there from 8 to 8:30, and then Fast Henry will be playing at 8:30. There will be food trucks, some different things set up, yard games, stuff like that set at Central Park. Like you said, Friday night is more for the adults. Saturday there is a sanctioned free pedal pull event for kids ages 4 to 11, and if they finish in the first, second, or third place in their respective age divisions, they will get a chance to actually go up to the state fair and compete for a pedal pull event up there, and it is absolutely free. So Saturday is more for kids. There will be bounce houses, again, more yard games. 4-H will be there, and then kind of playing off of the historic preservation. On Saturday, there will also be tours of the courthouse. There is a unveiling of a commemorative memorial that some of our students at OHS have painted, and it's a dedication to the city of Ottumwa, posted in the courthouse. There will be tours as well, and then there is a historical artifact contest. Different people around town have donated different artifacts from Ottumwa, and those will be on display. You can vote for your favorite, and winners will actually win chamber box.
Awesome. And then on Saturday, well, after you do that or before you do that, there's Upstairs Downtown, which is a way to see different things going on through Main Street. And then while you're out doing all these fun activities, shopping, doing whatever, Lemonade Day is going on, and this is a chance for our youth to 3rd through 5th graders of Ottumwa Community School District. They create lemonade stands. They get out there, they sell, they learn how to be entrepreneurs. And, you know, if you want to come to Vaughn's, there's a really great lemonade stand out there called Lemon and Glitz that two really cool kids are doing. But there's
It's
a
her
lot of
daughter.
it's my daughter. But anyways, but there's a lot of great kids out there. A lot of great charities and people that the kids are going to be donating to. So it's a great cause. That's what I got.
Thank you. And Does that council, any other council have any communications or announcements they'd like to make?
No, I haven't been to my committees yet. The meetings are all at the end of the month.
Okay, if there's no other communications, I will say real quick, for people that are going to the Historic Preservation Awards presentation tomorrow at 5:30 at Central Park, once they get that done, Molly Nama is gonna just do a real brief tour. You're not gonna get to go through the 4 historic buildings that surround Central Park, the library, the courthouse, St. Mary's, and City Hall. You're not gonna be able to go through those, but she's gonna take people around that wanna go around and briefly just talk a little bit about the history of those buildings. I forgot to mention that earlier. So it should be a really nice event tomorrow night, and the weather hopefully is gonna be good, and it's not gonna be raining. So if you're interested in historic preservation, please come to that tomorrow, because we'd like to get more people in Ottumwa involved with historic preservation. Okay, if there's no other announcements, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn tonight's city council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Cavanagh?
Yes.
Councilmember Basu?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Thank you, everybody, for attending tonight's city council meeting, and have a safe trip home.